The combat is the absolute core of this game. It is something we've prototyped and tested over more than a year to make sure it is designed to encourage fights that look like fights and not ballet auditions. Fights that look like fights, 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 and not ballet audition, and not ballet audition, and not ballet audition, and not ballet audition.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Greetings, Stoutlaws. Despite the intro, Mordhau does a relatively good job at preventing spinning attacks. Although it definitely requires further attention, players will always find a way to make their swings look janky in this genre, no matter how strict the turn caps or band-aid mechanics are set. The primary issue, which enables these ugly playstyles, is that you can combo after miss. Let me explain why this is glaringly bad game design. Starting with the basics, if you miss a swing in this game, there is a brief lockout before you can parry. Now, there's an exploit that was carried over from Chivalry which allows veteran players to avoid this lockout. If you cue a combo during your swing, you can feint the combo after the first swing missed. You're now back in idle state, and from here you can parry. The default parry bind executes the feint to parry action in one click, allowing an instant parry after missing a swing. This is called combo feint to parry, or CFTP. This mechanic isn't explained anywhere in the game, and whilst universally accepted by the game's competitive scene as a legitimate mechanic, it's still basically an exploit that is hidden from the wider player base. The resulting effect is that if a new player misses a swing, they get hit, whereas if a veteran misses that same swing, they don't get hit because they CFTP by habit. Now, if the problem stopped here, I wouldn't mind terribly. It would still be unintuitive and bad game design, but not the kind that makes me want to quit the game. The real issue is that 90% of the time, you don't even need to CFTP after missing, you can just combo excel to keep your initiative and often hit your opponent in the process. Example 1. In this clip, Poge attempts one of his ballerina plays that are plaguing Mordhau. This one fails. I attempt to punish his miss by kicking, the fastest punish in the game, but he hits me first with the combo excel. Example 2. I miss someone intentionally, deliberately baiting him to attempt to punish me, but then I combo excel and he gets hit first. It's clear that combo after miss enables these frustrating playstyles. If it wasn't an option, you would be encouraged to fight more sensibly, refraining from wild drags. Thanks to the efforts of King Despacito, a competitive Mordhau player and modder, we know that a better solution exists. In his mod, Despacito disabled combo after miss, but still allowed players to parry immediately when using a combo weapon, essentially making the CFTP mechanic accessible without some weird exploit that only comp players know to use. Missing with a no combo weapon like the Maul carries the usual lockout before you could parry again. This was a fantastic change that desperately needs to be added into the base game. Unfortunately, the main game designer, who barely plays his own game, has decided that he doesn't like this idea, and there's also a few misser boys that defend their casino dragging and bad aim with even worse arguments, which I'll now dismantle. Argument 1. Noobs love to combo, bro. Any balanced argument that revolves around noobs is usually terrible because noobs by definition lack game understanding and consequently you can convince them of anything. However, I have more data than any other player about the habits of noob players due to coaching hundreds of them, and I can safely say that they do not combo. If they're even aware of the combo mechanic, they definitely don't have the muscle memory to combo every swing, let alone perform a CFTP exploit, and why would they? It's all incredibly unintuitive. Argument 2. Combo after miss allows for more options, and having options is good. This also isn't a proper argument because if one of the options you have presented the player is vastly superior than the others, then there's no point in having the option in the first place. It's clearly the best choice. For example, putting guns into Mordhau, whilst technically gives players more options, is clearly bad game design. Argument 3. This change would negatively impact team fights. No combo after miss would only negatively impact teamfights if you're a bad player that misses either due to over-dragging, a lack of accuracy, or you live in America where you're encouraged to combo miss across the map just to land a target switch. I played some teamfights on Despacito's mod and it was a significant improvement. The engagements had more clarity to them because missing always results in a loss of initiative, as it should, and if you're a sensible player that doesn't miss constantly, you wouldn't even notice the difference. Just like the ranked health regen debate that the developers finally conceded after several months, it's one of those changes that is clearly a vast improvement to the game. So of course, Crush is against it, which means I need your assistance, not just competitive players, but also the casuals that only mess around in frontline. The vast majority of us are disgusted at the janky Wessex drags and backswing playstyles that we occasionally encounter. Combo after miss allows these playstyles to exist. Not only that, but it gives competitive players an unfair advantage over noobs, despite the already huge skill disparity between the two, by allowing them to parry instantly after missing. This ability should be made accessible to everyone without having to use some weird exploit. If this conclusion resonates with you, then please spread awareness of this topic and encourage the devs to remove combo after miss, or Mordhau's gameplay will continue to deteriorate into the antithesis of what it originally intended.